Okay, we are recording. Don't say anything bad about me. Okay, as you can see, my name is Fred. And what we're going to do today is we're just going over an overview of the VMSG dashboard. The idea here is not to take any notes and not to really, there's no test at the end. So all we're trying to do is give you a perspective on what the VMSG dashboard is all about. Andrea likes to say, if you ever try to put together a 1,000-piece puzzle without the box, today's what we're trying to do is give you the box. So all you can do is understand in the future trainings where everything relates in the box. We'll try to get through this in about 45, 50 minutes today. There are any questions, please feel free to stop me as we're going through it here. Let's go ahead and get rolling. This is our little mascot, the horse. And this presentation has been nicknamed over time, a drink from a fire hose. There's going to be a lot of information coming at you. Put your snorkel and mask on if you need to. But again, just sit back and take in what you can. We're going to get into a lot more detail in the future trainings here. So what is the VMSG dashboard? First of all, it was developed in public health, specifically for public health. About 15 years ago, we started developing the system here in Arizona with a couple of really large health departments in here. And what it is an operational planning and execution system. Operational planning being, specific plans related to specific activities in the department and managed by a specific set of people in here. We built a PDCA cycle, the Deming cycle in there, plan, do, check, and adjust, to be able to keep the plans up to date and moving forward here. We'll talk a lot more about that in a few minutes. In 2011, FAB came along, and the health departments here who were using the system got that fully demonstrated moniker by FAB. So the system has been fully demonstrated in hundreds of health departments across the nation over the years that we've been using it. So if you're using the system properly, we'll talk about what that means in a few minutes here. You'll more than likely get fully demonstrated by FAB for standard 9.1. And one of the reasons is that we built the capability in there to engage all staff and external partners in the whole process. We'll see how that works through what we call the real-time planning. Now, we define public health performance management in 3 steps. First of all is those operational plans. So you probably see the bubbles around here, and what you're looking at is what FAB calls their 6-pack of plans. These are the minimum required plans for accreditation. So you're going to typically have those in the system. Plus, over time, you're going to have lots of different plans. So you'll have a WIC plan, and you'll have a community health plan, et cetera. Now, once you have the plan in place, obviously, you're going to execute the plans. And you're going to be able to monitor those plans at multiple different levels. What we call the macro level, the dashboard itself, is the ability to look at any level in the department. So you can look at the entire department on one screen if you wanted to. You could look, just your strategic plan on one screen. Sometimes that's too high a level to look at something because you don't see the small stuff that's potentially taking place that might affect the macro level. So that's why we have the micro level performance monitoring, which is in the pyramid. We're going to go over here in a second, but the objective and activity level monitoring at that level. And then VMSG public here is my mouse across the screen. VMSG public is the ability to share any of the information in the system with the public through a very easy to create public facing web page. Pardon me. Hang on, something strange going on with my mouse here again. There we go. Okay, and then we get into the last phase here, which is performance improvement. So plan, do, check, and adjust. So developing the plan, executing the plan. Through the performance monitoring, you're going to be able to check the status of the plan, and then you're going to make any adjustments if necessary in the plan and continue through the cycle. So this is a kind of an infinite cycle that plans stay up to date as you're moving forward here. Now, as we go through the system, you're going to see across the top of the dashboard, there's a set of tabs. And the tabs are kind of this pyramid flipped on its left side. So the pyramid includes, at the top is your organization, your health department. Underneath that, you have your groups, which is typically the structure of your health department, plus what you're seeing up there, the primary plans, the FAB 6-pack of plans, plus any other really high-level plans that you might have in the department. And groups can have subgroups, and they can go down to 10 levels deep. Under the groups, then each group has a set of services or initiatives. Services are ongoing things that you're doing. I use the example of WIC as being a service. It's an ongoing thing that's been going on forever here. Initiatives are new things that you're planning on working on in the future here. Under each service and initiative, you have a set of goals. Under each goal, a set of objectives. Under each objective, a set of activities. So you're going to see how the pyramid gets pretty wide at the bottom here. What we're actually going to do now is walk through the example here of developing an operational plan. Then we're going to walk it through its life cycle so we can see the various monitoring tools. And then we're going to take it through that PDCA cycle. So we've developed this little demo organization we call USA Public Health. I'll take you live into the system here. So when you log in, you're going to see a screen similar to this, and depending on your login permissions as to how many of these menu items you'll see. But these are the tabs I was referring to across the top. So if you take that pyramid and flip it on its left side, you got your organization, groups, service initiatives, goals, objectives, and activities. Excuse me 1 second here. So the tabs are, again, the pyramid flipped on its left side. I'm going to go to my groups tab. We're going to kind of look at the structure of our little demo department here. So starting up at the department level, and then under the department, you see the Fab 6-pack of plans down here. Then you see a group called Administrative Services. This is just an example of how you can structure it. Under Administrative Services, then you'll see Finance, HR, and IT. So these levels indicate the hierarchy of the group. Right now, we're sitting down at Community Health Division. I'm going to go down under Community Health and select the Tobacco group. Now, under Tobacco, then, we're going to have a set of specific services or initiatives related to tobacco. In this case, you'll see we have tobacco cessation, secondhand smoke, and tobacco initiation prevention. For today, we're going to develop this plan around tobacco cessation here. Under tobacco cessation, I have a set of goals. Reduce smoking in high school is one of them. Reduce smoking in colleges, reduce smoking in public areas. So goals are a high-level description of what we're trying to accomplish without getting down into the real details. You'll notice we're not saying which high schools. We're not saying how much are we going to reduce it. We're not going to say when we're doing it at the goal level. When we get down to the activity level, that's when we're going to do that. Now, underneath the goal, then, we have a set of what we call SMART objectives. SMART being specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. So here's an example. Reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. At this point in time, we're going to assign this person called the objective lead, and Steve's job here is to get us to that target, and he's going to be participating in what we call the real-time planning, where he's going to go in on a regular basis and update the status of this particular objective. Now, underneath the objectives are where we get down to the steps that we're going to go through that we believe will accomplish the objective. So we call the activities or action steps in a lot of cases here. In the dashboard, there are 3 distinct types of activities here. Project-based activity is by far the most common. Quantitative measurement would be the second most common, and then quality assurance is the third most. We have an example of each of these. We'll go into a little bit of detail, but not great detail. The next training we do on operational planning, we'll get into great detail on these. So our first activity is create training content and materials for students and faculty on the dangers of smoking. So that would you mind muting the mic? Could you do that?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'm still hearing it, but that's okay. Okay, let's move on.
Carrie, if you can hear yourself, I think it's Carrie that's feeding back.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Every activity has got a performance metric, and the performance metric merely says, how do I know when I've successfully completed the activity? So we're creating training content. Once we've created the training content, we're done with the activity. Every activity's got a date range on it. So in this time period, we're going to create the activity. And all of these things can be adjusted over time as needed in here. And then our measurement at this point in time is % complete. So in this case, we're saying we're 100% complete. You notice we've had these traffic lights up there. I'm sorry, I should have said that earlier. The traffic lights are an indication of status. The gold bar that you see indicates successful completion. Green would indicate that we're moving along as expected. Yellow would indicate something is potentially going to get in the way here. Red means that thing got in the way and it brought us to a complete halt here. So those are the traffic lights. We use the traffic lights a lot as a visual indication of status at the goal, the objective, and the activity level in here. The other thing we do at every activity level is assign a team of people here. So I'm going to click on the little pencil icon here, and I'm going to click on this to open it up to the whole department. So what you see are these 3 columns: team member, team lead, email notification. So our team members, in this case, Diane is a team member, William and Andrea are team members. Diane has been assigned as the team lead, so she's kind of in charge of the particular activity, in this case, creating training content. And then Diane has also been assigned as email notification, meaning that when the automated emails go out from the system, Diane's going to get an email to link right back into this activity to be able to update the status of this activity. Over in the right-hand column, FTE, full-time equivalent, this is something that it's not used a lot, but it's used typically during budgeting cycles. What you're able to do is assign an FTE value, 0 to 1, to each of the people who are designated as team members in here. And what you can do then is determine what is the human cost for doing this particular activity, again, for budgeting and that sort of thing. What we do with that, one of the things is we roll it up the pyramid. So if you go down here and look, we have the 0.1, 0.1, and 0.3 equating to a 0.5 at the activity level. If I look at all three of these activities rolled up to their objective here, you'll see we have a 0.7 at the objective level. So it just gives you the ability to quantify the human investment in there. The other thing we can do is assign external partners. So there's an external partner database that's obviously your partners who manage that. And when I click on this, it's going to give me the ability to assign not only a partner organization, but the contacts within that organization. And I can do either. I can assign just the organization, or in this case, I can assign Fred Erickson at VMSG Dashboard as our external partner. Now, Fred can also be given that email notification so that instead of you having to contact Fred and Fred coming back in and updating the information in the activity, or you having to go back in and update the information in the activity, Fred can go directly back in and do that. We'll talk a little bit more about that in real-time planning. So that's our first activity, is create training content. Our second activity then is we're going to take that training content and we're going to go to the schools and we're going to do 9 training sessions each month on the dangers of smoking to students and faculty. Now, this is what we call a quality assurance activity. It's kind of unique in a couple of, for some reason, GoToMeeting has been slowing things down here recently. Okay, we have this activity wizard that I just clicked on. Quality assurance activity wizard is unique in a couple of things. First of all, it has a starting date but no ending date because it has a frequency. The frequency is how often does this repeat? In this case, we're going to do 9 training sessions a month, so we're repeating on a monthly basis here. Our initial beginning date is 5/1 of 23, and next month, obviously, it's going to move up to 6/1, 7/1 as we move forward here. The other thing we can do in this particular type of activity is set the traffic light values. So in this case, we're saying if we do 9 training sessions a month or more, it's going to set it to green. If we do 6 or less, it's going to set it to red, and in between will be yellow. And then we're saying the metric type, what we're actually measuring is training sessions provided. So you'll see over here that we have the performance metric created for you, training sessions provided, measured monthly, green, yellow, and red. So that's our second activity in our quality assurance activity. Our third activity then is we're going to contact all 20 tobacco vendors. I apologize, my mouse is sticking here. We're going to contact all 20 tobacco vendors within 1 mile of Wayne High School to ensure they're not selling to minors. This is what we call a quantitative measurement activity. Very similar to the project-based activity, with the exception that we're actually counting a quantity here. We're looking for 20 tobacco vendors in here. And since we know the target is 20, we can calculate the percent complete for us here. So that's really the difference. Same thing, it's got a date range in here, got the activity leads and the external partners to be assigned in there. So that's the 3 activities that we believe are going to get us to our target of a 25% reduction at Wayne High School. If I go back to our pyramid here, it's going to look like this. Our group was Tobacco 2023. This thing is slow. Tobacco cessation was the initiative. Our goal is to reduce smoking in high schools. Our objective is to reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. And then the 3 activities we believe are going to get us there. We're going to create the training curriculum, provide 9 training sessions a month, and contact the local tobacco vendors. So that's the planning process, the operational planning process. The nice thing about having a fixed model like this is that every plan is exactly the same format. So as you're looking across plans, it's easy to compare and contrast in there. Pardon me 1 second. Okay, apology. Okay, now moving forward here, now that we have the plan in place, We're going to take that plan, we're going to walk it through that PDCA cycle. If my mouse will move, thank you. Okay, so what we just did is the planning part. We've got the plan in place. Obviously, the next thing we're going to do is execute the plan. This is where the real-time planning comes in. So we're going to be doing the plan. We're going to be creating the training content. We're going to take the training content and go out to the schools, and then we're going to be contacting those tobacco vendors. The real-time planning is the email notifications that go out to everybody who is assigned as an objective or an activity lead. And that email is going to allow them to link right back into the system and go in and do the updates on the specific activities they've been assigned. So what this allows you to do is have real-time information as you're going into the check phase here. The check phase is where you compare the plan to the actual and figure out exactly how we're doing. If you're collecting that information in the background in real time, it makes it real easy to do. We'll go look at that. Well, typically, I'm going to look at my check phase at the objective level since that's our target that we've set in here. So reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25%. I'm going to go down here and click on this little chart button right here. And it shows us at the beginning we were at 0% reduction, and we ramped ourselves up, got to our 25% reduction target, and capped off right there. So what we're saying is we had a plan of 25, we got an actual 25, and we know that we're on target here. So that's a good thing. And the fact is that we were collecting all that information in the background. I wish my mouse had quit doing this. Collecting all that information in the background through the real-time planning. So it's really that easy to go into the check phase. Now, after the check phase, we're going to go into the adjust phase. The adjust phase is we're going to make any corrections if necessary. Well, based on what we just saw, the plan is working beautifully. There's no sense making any adjustments to the plan. We'll continue the execution. We'll go into the check phase occasionally, maybe once a month, once a quarter, make sure we're still on track and continue through the cycle. Now let's go back and look at a different example here. Reduce smoking at Desert Vista High School by 25% by the end of the school year. Up here, you see we got a yellow light. The yellow light's indicating something potentially going wrong. It says not quite to the 25% target, COVID restrictions on training and vendor visits. Okay, let's look at our chart. So again, we have the ramp up over time, and we got to 21%, not 25%, and capped off there. So at this point, what we know is we're not quite making our target, but what we don't know is why. So now we're going to go back down and look at our activities. Come on. So we got the 3 activities up here. The first one with the gold bar says we created the training content, don't even need to look at that. Our second activity has got a red light here. It says provide 9 training sessions each month. I'm going to go down here and look at our chart. So we got up to our 9 training sessions for about 3 months in a row, and then we started falling off. So let's assume this is the point in time when COVID kicked in, kids were staying home from school. Our training was to go into the schools and do the face-to-face training. Well, they're not at school, we can't do the training. So we're down to about 3 training sessions a month, which is, we set the red value to 6 in here, meaning that it's going to set that traffic light to 6 automatically here. I apologize for this. I'm not sure what's going on here, but everything is just slowed down. Okay, our next activity then is contact all 20 tobacco vendors within 1 mile of Desert Vista High School to ensure they're not selling to minors. Again, I'll go look at my chart here. So here we contacted 3, 7, 11, 12, got to 15 of the 20, weren't able to get to the last 5 tobacco vendors. So between not being able to do the training face-to-face and not being able to contact the tobacco vendors, it's probably why we're not getting to our 25% target. So back to the PDCA cycle. In the adjust phase, this point in time, we're going to want to make a correction here. A couple of different corrections we could make depending on the situation. So let's say we're just getting into the COVID time and all the resources in the department are going towards COVID. We don't have any additional resources to get us to our 25% target. So we might want to adjust the plan so we have a successful plan until this COVID thing is over with. So maybe we take the plan down to 21%, continue through the cycle, try to keep it at 21%. If it's possible to adjust the resources, we could potentially add more resources to get in here. So one of the things we had was the training was face-to-face training at the schools. Well, nobody's at the school, so that doesn't work. Maybe we could convert our training to a virtual-based training, so Zoom or something like that, and be able to take the training to the students at home so we can get back on the same track with the training. The other thing we might be able to do is get somebody external, maybe through some grant funds, we can hire a contractor to go out and contact those other 5 tobacco vendors. So at this point in time, we could either make no adjustments like we saw in the first example. We could adjust the plan if possible. We could adjust the resources if we could get to them. And the fourth one would maybe we adjust the plan and the resources. So maybe we could take the plan down to 23% and get our training up to a virtual training program so that we can get to the kids at school. Maybe they'll get us to our 23%. So this is the PDCA cycle going all the time and fed by that real-time planning, collecting all that information in the background on a regular basis so that you can have an accurate check in here. Now we talked about macro level performance monitoring. This is the dashboard. The dashboard, let me take you live into the system again here. I'm gonna go up to my groups tab. The dashboard is dependent on the group that you're looking at. So let's say when I logged in, I was at community health. So let's assume for a second I'm the community health director. Underneath community health, I have tobacco and WIC. Now, if I just logged in, I can go right up to this dashboard, this traffic light button up here, and launch my dashboard for community health. When you launch it, it takes about 10 or 12 seconds to gather up all the data points in the background to bring up the dashboard for you. But I can look at a dashboard for the entire department. I can look at just my strategic plan, or in this case, I can look at community health. So the top left corner, what I'm showing is the number of traffic lights in each status. And you'll notice I can click on any of these and drill right down to the data points behind there. So instead of having to go search through it, I can go right to those. I can look at activities, objectives, or goals in the pyramid. Then I have this schedule gauge, which is showing me aggregately we're about 6 days ahead of schedule for all of the activities that are in community health, which is really good. Down at the bottom, we have a drill down by 3 different levels. Number 1 is our people. So our activity leads down here. The last time they did those updates, so that real-time planning, the last time they responded, green means less than 30 days, yellow is 30 to 60, red is over 60 days ago. Ideally, you want everybody to be in the green down here so you're working with real-time information. This is another roll-up of those FTE numbers. Again, if you should choose to use that, it gives you the ability to, how loaded is each person in here. In an ideal world, you want everybody to be at a 1 or below. When you can start getting up into the 1.3, 1.6, you're overloading people pretty well. Lagging indicates we have activities that are calculated to be behind schedule and color-coded as to how far. Days is the same as the schedule gauge up here for the individual person. So how far ahead of or behind schedule is this person? Overdue says this person has activities that are past the ending date and not yet 100% complete. And then a number of red, yellow, green, and gold. So that's my first view is my people. My second view, if I click the groups button, will give me the groups down here and then the same data information over here. So how's each group performing? And then priorities maps your strategic priorities from your strategic plan against every other plan that you have in the system. And just make sure that everything you're doing does in fact roll up to your strategic plan. Up here at the top, we have my priorities. These are individually selectable objectives that you personally want to keep your eye on. On the objective screen, there's a little flag you set, turns green. When it turns green, they show up on your login only. Typically, you're going to be looking at things that are yellows and reds, because if they're green and gold, they're either on track or completed. And just things that you want to keep your eye on, either your stuff or the people who report to you. And it's kind of like a bookmarking that you can just keep them up there and keep them right in front of you. All the data behind here is real time. So if these things change, it's going to change and I can see it up there. So that's my dashboard screen. It gives me the ability, again, to look at any level in the department, that macro level. The dashboard is also available on what we call VMSG Mobile. VMSG Mobile is just a phone-based version of the VMSG app. Kind of an interesting thing about it, I don't know if you guys have limitations by your IT folks on what you can put on your company phones, if you will. If you do, you don't need to worry about it with this because this is actually built into the browser on your phone. So you're going to log in with the same login credentials that you use for your desktop. And we'll go over that at the end of the presentation, how to get into there. But you can do that on your phone as well. This is the same screen you just saw broken down into 3 phone screens. Top left corner, bottom, top right corner. So it's just, a convenience feature, if you will. So what we've just gone over is what we consider to be the core functionality of the VMSG dashboard and public health performance management. Now, again, there's about 240 plus health departments using the system across the nation, most of them going through accreditation or reaccreditation. And for those of those folks who have used the Fab 6 packet plans in there, use our accreditation plan, it's built into the system, and use the real-time planning, every one of those folks has gotten fully demonstrated by FAB for performance management. So the tool kind of speaks for itself in that area. Now, we're going to go into some other features that were brought on by feedback from people like yourselves. Wouldn't it be nice if? But before I do that, are there any questions on what we've gone over? Nope. Okay, let's move on. Intelligent document management. Up until about 2 months ago, this was just document management. Document management was built into the system primarily for accreditation. You're going to have, as you guys well know, being accredited, you're going to have somewhere between 300 and 1,000 documents you're going to submit up into the EFAB system. This just allows you to control where they are. You can attach the documents anywhere in the system. Typically, you're attaching them to the accreditation plans that we have built into the system. Those documents then are attached to the specific services or standards and measures in there, so you know where they are. They're backed up on our servers every night, so you always know that you have them in there. And you can have as many documents and as big a documents as you want in there, but it just allows you to kind of keep control of all your documents as you're going through the accreditation cycle. In addition to accreditation, you can use it for anything else you want. We have, pardon me, a lot of people use it for grant management. Just recently, we had a health department in Michigan that came to us and said, we have a problem we think you can help us with. And that is, we have a bunch of MOUs, we have standard operating procedures, we have all kinds of documents that have to be updated on a regular basis, have to be assigned to somebody to do that update, and we have to be able to control that. So what we did is built kind of an anomaly to one of our activities, that QA activity called a timeline activity. And basically what you're going to do is build a plan, something like this. So you got a group called Administrative Services, and we built a little service under there called SOP. These are just, you make these up as you go here. The service standard operating procedures. Our first goal might be to manage and update all administrative SOPs. Our second goal down here, manage and update all emergency operations SOPs. You can have, obviously, as many of those as you want. Under the objective of manage and update the destruction of records SOP, you've got that document attached to it. You put an activity under there that says manage that SOP annually. You link back to that document, and then you build an activity in there that says we're going to do this annually. So you set it for an annual cycle, and then you set the timeline, which says percent to yellow. So maybe you set it for 80%. When it gets to 80%, the light turns yellow. It notifies the person who's designated as that activity lead to go in and start doing the update. So it just helps you to control things like specific documents and things like that. Reporting is all built in. There's a boatload of reports, and we're going to go into this in great detail when we get into the performance monitoring training that will be training number 4. But the operational plan report is the most common report, and it would look something like this for the plan that we're doing. Under the group Tobacco 2023, Tobacco Cessation, you can see the documents where they're attached, and you can have as many documents attached as you want. Reduce smoking in high schools, we have this data source. So at the goal, objective, and activity level, you can attach a data source link. In this case, it's going right back to the CDC Smoking Cessation Fast Facts webpage. These are reference points for you to update the plan, basically. And again, we'll get into that in greater detail in the future trainings here. The objective lead, the activities, what you see in blue are all the notes that you put in there, the traffic lights, the people who are assigned to it. So it's a very, very detailed report, probably mostly applicable to somebody like Steve, who's the objective lead. He's the guy who really kind of needs that. Most people, however, don't need this level of detail. What they want to know is, how are we doing? That's where we built VMSG Public. And this is the ability to take any of the data elements in the system and create a public-facing web page. So this would be an example of a web page for the tobacco programs we've been talking about. If I go over here, you can see the rollover shows me the number of gold, green, yellow, and red, and our timeline says we're 51 days behind schedule. I can have any number of these indicator rows on a page, and I can get all the way down to the detail like that activity we saw down there. This just allows you to, very graphically show the status of anything. We see a common use for this as people who are updating, for instance, the board on your strategic plan. So the top level would be your entire strategic plan, and then you break it down by your strategic initiatives underneath that and have all of those in there. So you can just kind of look at it and get a good feeling for how we're doing in there. It just takes a couple of minutes to create this. And again, in the performance monitoring training, we'll go through how to do this. But bottom line is you're creating this web link. You can grab that web link and put it in an email, send it to somebody. They can link back and see the status. You can give it to your IT folks and say, hey, please put this up on our public-facing web page so that our community can look at it, or our board can look at it, whoever. So just a really nice tool to be able to show the information to the public. Two more quick sections to go through. Any questions before we do? Okay, let's go. Three-dimensional planning. What this is the ability to look across everything in the system for commonalities, or where do we have gaps or overlaps. So some examples might be the essentials of public health. So how are we doing against public health essential number one across the whole department? The FAB standards. This is a nice one as you're going through, you guys are going through reaccreditation in about 3 or 4 years from now. But when you go through reaccreditation and you're having your site visit, your virtual site visit, in that case, you can bring up a report that shows you everything you're doing across the entire department related to standard 6.1, including all the documents. So what that allows you to do is very simply, with the site visitors, walk through everything you're doing just to show that, in fact, you are doing it. The strategic priorities can be mapped here against everything else in the system. So what that allows you to do is say, hey, what are we doing across the whole department related to our strategic priority of partnering? And this is where the bottom of that dashboard screen we talked about comes through as well. And all those documents that you have in there, you can tag those against a bunch of different standards. These standards that you see are all created. Some of them are standard, like all the FAB standards and the public health essentials are all in there, but you can create your own. So if you got other cross-reference points you want to manage, you can do that as well. As I mentioned, built into the system are accreditation and reaccreditation plans. I'll take you back live. So down under the group screen, I believe on your system, we put in the FAB reaccreditation 2022 local. So let's kind of walk down through that plan. And by the way, there's every FAB plan from version 1.5 all the way through all the 2022, including pathways recognition, are all in there. You can have as many of them as you want. Underneath the group, we have the service or initiatives. So you're looking at the domains. Under the domains, you have the standards. What we did also is use that data source to link right back to the FAB documentation in here. So if I click on this, it's going to take me to the FAB documentation on their website, in this case for standard 1.1, I think it was we clicked on. Yeah, domain one. Okay, at this point it's the domain. So at this point in time, we're looking at domain one. And again, there's links to everything down here. So if I get down to the standard, get down to the objectives down here, the objectives are the measures, and this is where the documents start coming in. So at this point in time, here's document management. I click on that. It says we have 3 documents attached. What we're looking for was the community health assessment. This says we have 3 different versions of it. Typically, yellow light means a draft. Green means we as a department are done with it. Gold means we have submitted it up into EFAB if you're using it for accreditation. So real nice place to keep all your documents and keep them all tracked. And then underneath the measure, so this measure says 1 community health assessment data within 5 years is the document we're looking for. I get down to my activities, and it says these are the 7 things that are required to be in your community health assessment. In this case, you're going to include in the child list of participating partners. Again, under document management, we have the partner list in here, and we have different versions of the partner list as well. So this is the document that you're looking for to include with your CHA. That's a part of the requirement. So what this plan does is help you to walk through the process, to manage and monitor the processes you're going through, and understand everything that's required as you're going past the measure level in there. The other thing we did over COVID is when people weren't able to travel and get into the health departments, a lot of health departments were working from their homes. We built the ability to have a mock site visit in there virtually. So instead of somebody coming out and doing a kind of a pre-site visit review for you to get you in, ready to go, you can do it remotely. So we built the functionality in to go in and review everything that's going on in the system, every document, every plan, so that the folks would understand exactly what's needed to do before you go into your actual site visit there. Built into the system is training, help, and information. So I'm at the activity screen right now. If I wanted to know, what are these buttons for? How do I add an activity? How do I remove an activity? I just go up to the top here where it says the blue eye, click on that, takes me to a help and information screen, and it took me immediately to adding and managing activities. Over here is just a bullet list of things that you can do on that screen. It contains pretty much everything, including all the different buttons on there. Down here, come on, mouse. Down here is a video-based training module, typically about 5 minutes long, and it's a video training module specifically on activities. Just below that is the complete user guide. So this blue button opens up the hyperlinked PDF file, which is the complete user guide. Excuse me, the table of contents is hyperlinked in there so you can get to it very quickly. Down here at the bottom is a document called implementation guidelines, and it's just stuff we've collected over the years from clients about what works best, what doesn't work as well. Here's some IT things in there. Here's how we engaged our staff to use the real-time planning. Here's a couple of templates in here to use, just lots of good stuff. It's a good read as you're starting out in the system. Up here at the top left, we have 5 training modules. These are video-based training modules, total of about 3.5 hours. What we're going through today is the intro, so you can skip over that. If you like doing online learning, then you can go probably to these next 3 training modules. If you're an administrator, the 4th one as well. Again, I think these 3 are about 2 hours and 15 minutes worth of training, the next 3, if you choose to go that route. But we do plan on doing live sessions with all this as well in there. So you got everything in the help screen, plus you got all the user guide, plus all the training modules in there. Okay, one more section to go through. Any questions? Okay, let's go. Intelligent real-time planning. This really is a key element. This is how we collect all that data in the background to be able to do the check phase in the PDCA cycle. So here's how it works. Typically, you're going to set this up for a monthly cycle, but you can set it anywhere you want to, anywhere from daily to monthly. So let's say we got it set for the first Monday of the month. Pardon me. On the first Monday of the month at 1 a.m., the system goes in and it looks at everybody that you've designated as an activity lead or an objective lead. And it asks 3 questions. Number 1, has this person been in the last 30 days and updated their stuff? Number 2, does this person have anything that's falling behind schedule? Number 3, does this person have anything that's overdue, past the ending date? If any of those is true, out go the emails. If none of them is true, no email goes out, no spam. The emails can go out again to internal folks as well as directly to external partners, and we'll be happy to train your external partners on how to do that. Very simple process. In that email is a link. They can take the link and it'll take them right back into the login. After the login, it gives them an option to go to what we call the quick update system. We're going to go through this live here in a minute. The quick update system allows them to very simply update the information on the assigned activities and objectives, and then they log out and they're done. Just to give you a number, this takes typically about 3 to 5 minutes per person per month. So what you want to do is spread it out to what I call the horse's mouth, the people who are actually doing the activities, the people who are actually managing the objectives, because they're going to have the best source of information to update the information so that you're always working with real-time data. So that's the real-time planning. Now, this is an example of the activities quick update screen. I'm going to take you live into here in a minute and show you the process, but it looks a bit complex because we got the context up here, the top of the pyramid: group, service, goal, objective, activity 1 of 29. Down here at the bottom, though, there's only 3 fields to update. You can cycle through the traffic lights, enter the data value, the number of training sessions we did, number of tobacco vendors we contacted, whatever. If you got a note you want to put in there, you put the note in, hit the little next button. You're going to go through all of your activities. It's going to be a similar screen for objectives. You're going to go through those and you're going to log out. Again, 3 to 5 minutes later, typically. Now, the email reminder that you get will look like this. Here's those 3 criteria we mentioned, 30 days, lagging, and overdue. This is just kind of an FYI. For all the activities for which you have been assigned, here's the traffic light status. Your system administrators, those folks that you've designated as org admins, can show up in here. You can assign them to different groups, or you can assign a bunch of people to one group. And what you're going to use, this is just a contact. If I have a question why I got the email, it's not working right, whatever it happens to be, it'll contact your folks. And then obviously if you need to, you can contact us. And then here's the link. This is the link that takes you to the login. What I'm going to do now is a couple things. I'm going to walk you through the steps to log in. just on a text. And then I'm going to take you through that process and walk you through the login and changing your password, just so you can see everything that you can do. And we're going to go through quick update. So the steps. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Okay, so this is the link, login.vmsgdashboard.com. Now, you can go to vmsgdashboard.com, and then in the top right corner of the home page, there's a link that says, if you're already a VMSG user, click here to log in. It'll take you back to this one. There's going to be a dialog box that opens up. There's a button on there. There's a send button, I think a cancel button, and a login button. Hit the send button, which says, send me my login credentials. The next dialog box, enter your email address, click send again. If you receive the success dialog, which hopefully you will, that means all your stuff is correct in the system and it sent you an email. If you don't get the success dialog, please contact us and we'll get you fixed up. There's going to be a login button. Again, I'm going to walk you through this live here. There's going to be a login button in the middle of the screen. You click on that, you're going to get the same dialog box. Now, you can either use the user ID that came in the email, or you can just use your email address as your user ID, and you can go back and forth, either one. You're going to enter your password, and you're going to click login. The credentials email you're going to get looks kind of like this. Here's your user ID. Here's your password. The password, the first time you get it, it's going to be a crazy cryptic string, so we'll walk through how to do the update on the password as well. So let's go ahead and now walk through that process. So the red button in the top right corner is my log out. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, say, yep, log out. It'll take me back to the VMSG dashboard homepage. And here's that link I was talking about. Already a VMSG dashboard user, log in here. I'll click on that. It'll take me back to the login screen. And then down here's that send button I was talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the send button. I'm going to put in my email address. And hit send again. It's going to give me a success dialog eventually here. There we go. Okay, success, your user ID and password have been emailed to you. So it's going to send you an email that looks like the one I just showed you there. I'm going to go back to here. Now I'm going to go up and click this login button again. I'm going to take the information from that email. I'm going to put it in here. Again, either the username in the email or your email address works fine. Then you can put in the password. I would copy and paste the password because it's kind of a crazy set of characters in here. I'm going to click login. Now, if you have been designated as an objective or an activity lead, you're going to get this dialog. The dialog says I can either go to the main menu, which is where we've been working this whole time, or I can go to quick update. So let's go ahead and select quick update. What it's going to do is take me to the activities quick update screen first, and that's just for the activities that I've been assigned. So this is what the screen looks like again. Again, the top of it in blue is just context. On the bottom, you got the traffic lights you can cycle through. Got the data value, and you can put a new note in here if you want to. Fairly recently, we added the ability to, if you click on this button, it adds the time and date stamp plus who's doing it. So the note is time and date stamped in here. So that's a new feature in there. And then I can just click this button and cycle through my activities. You can see I'm on 3 of 29. I'm going to go through all my activities just real quick here and then go to the objectives page. 17. Got to get rid of some of these activities. 28, 29. So I'm on activity 29 and 29, my last activity. I'll do my update. I'll hit the button here. It says you've also been an objective lead. You want to go and do those? We'll say yes, we'll do our objectives. The objective screen is very similar, except the objective is above the activities here. Click once down here. So again, at the objective, I got the same thing. I got the data value in here. So my percent reduction in smoking at Wayne High School would go in there. I can cycle my traffic lights down through here. I can put a note in here, hit the next button. The other thing, as the objective lead, you have access to the activities that make up that objective. And you'll notice you got 2 of them in gray and 2 of them in blue. The blue indicates that the activities are also assigned to you, which means you just went through them. So you don't have to go through them again if you don't want to. The gray indicates that you, as the objective lead, have probably assigned these activities to somebody else. Being the objective lead, you still have access to those activities. So I can click on that, do my update on the activity, and move forward here. So that's the quick update. Again, you're going to go through all your objectives, and you're going to log out. I mentioned the password. When you get into quick update, this key button changes your password. So copy and paste the one out of the email in here, put in whatever new password you want, verify the new password like every other website in the world, and hit update, and your password is changed. If you do go to the main menu, you got a password button right here too. Same thing, exact thing. Going to go through the same function here. So you can change your password. I do recommend changing your password when you get in, just to make it something you can remember in there. Quick update is also available on your phone. So when you log into your phone, again, same login credentials you just got. You log into your phone, you have the option to go to the dashboard screen. Quick update is another option. If you go to quick update, it's going to take you to an activities quick update screen. You'll notice it does have a lot less context on it here, just due to screen real estate. But then I can cycle through those. I can change the data value, the traffic light, and the notes field, go to my next one, get to my objectives, go through those, and log out, again, being done for the month. So that was the drink out of a fire hose for the day. Any questions? Anything else I can show you?
Fred, on the login piece, do we all need to go and do that at this point in time?
You don't need to, but you certainly can. But in order to get logged in, that's the process that you'll go through.
Okay.
And everybody's login has been established in there. I think there's 8 of you in there now. If you need it, and by the way, if you run into any trouble with the login, please feel free to email me or call me or whatever, and we'll get you fixed up. Okay, the next training that we're typically going to do is the operational planning training. So we're going to walk you through the process of operational planning. We'll actually take you through entering a plan. And then after that, we're going to give you a little bit of homework, and that is to create a quick little operational plan. Typically very simple. Sometimes it's just fun stuff that you're doing. One of them was planting grass in my backyard. One of them was my Las Vegas vacation, things like that, just so you understand the planning process. And then we're going to schedule another session where we're going to review those. So we're going to go through with 4 to 6 people at a time, review the plans that they've created, and just kind of critique them a little bit, get everything on track. Once we're done with that, the next session will be what we call performance monitoring, which is all the charts that you saw today, the reports, the graphs, the VMSG public, all of that information in great detail. So if there are no other questions, Andrea will be working with you to schedule those other trainings if you haven't already. And anytime between now and then, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
Awesome. Any other questions? I don't think so. Thanks,
Thank
Fred.
you, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Bye.